Okay then, we're now back at the bus station and we are on board now the number 9 route going towards Bridgnorth, operated by ARR9. And this is one of my favourite routes in Wolverhampton, one of my favourite rural ones as well, alongside the 891 from here to Telford, the 877 which is now the 876 to Stafford, which also replaced journeys on the 878. However, the 877 and the 878 do exist still. The 878 is now a college service, whilst the 877 just operates between Stafford and the villages, and the 876 does the Stafford to Wolverhampton service. And of course we've got the 67 from here to Cannock, and also the 70 and 71s to Cannock. Those routes do not serve this part of the city centre. They just serve the main part of Wolverhampton, and so we're on stand. We uploaded the lift videos first before uploading the 81 video, and as you know, it was a cloudy day this morning, but obviously the weather has now picked up. So here we are. We're now. So we're just now on stand and just about to pass us is the B7 working for the number 2 towards Bushbury, and so I'll see you once we're on the move. Right then, here we go, we're now on the move, leaving Wolverhampton towards Bridgnorth on the number 9. We are exiting via the ring road, so we'll be going past the Slade rooms. There's the Novotel, and off we go. Up there is the tram that goes towards. There is the tram that goes towards the train station, the rail station in Wolverhampton, because obviously the tram line now links Wolverhampton city centre, now links the train station, so there's good connections onto the main line, the west coast. There's the train station over there, and so we'll be turning. And there's a incoming is a 69 service beyond that lorry that's coming from Warsaw via New Invention. And so we're just now made our departure. So we're just making our departure, and just incoming now is an Enviro 200 ADL on the 5A from Cottage, and the 5A used to be operated by NX buses, but it's now operated on behalf of that Jack. And Blackwood used to do the console before in the past, when it was back to the days of the 535 and the 634, when they had all those old little minibuses. So we moved off stand now at Wolverhampton. We're now making our departure to Bridgnorth. So we've got Dixie Chicken there, pizza, and we're just going to come to the turning point. So this is where you catch the 67s and the 70 and 71 routes for Cannock, because obviously there isn't a bus service from the bus station to Cannock or Stafford, because, well, there was the 54 route and the 54A that went that NX operated up until 2020, but obviously that had to stop running to Stafford because it was no longer viable, and then the rest of the route finally being withdrawn in October of that same year, 2020. So we're now on the move. So the university there, that's where you can catch your Cannock buses, and here is where you catch the Stafford buses if you're travelling to Stafford, and that is the 876 operated by Select. So Select buses run the 876. dates back to when it was known as the 890 from the Midland Red era, operating between Wolverhampton and Bridgnorth. I've done a lot of facts about that, so if you want to see my previous video on this route, just hover over to see that. We've actually made these newer versions to include the newest updated title, and you can probably tell why does it say ARR. ARR means Arriva, and VNG means Wyken. So anyway, there's St. Peter's Church we've just gone past. So we're leaving the city behind as we head to the market town, because Bridgnorth is a market town. So the 890 was then later renumbered to the 9 and was merged with the 99 that went from Bridgnorth to Telford, and it created a Wolverhampton through Bridgnorth to Telford. But however, it was every 2 hours between Wolverhampton and Telford, and every hour between Wolverhampton and Bridgnorth. However, that didn't really last long, but that only lasted up until 2018, 6 years ago, from when the 9 was shortened to Bridgnorth only, and the Telford section was replaced by the 8, except going via Madeley rather than going via Dorley, because parts of that got replaced by the 19, which is now part of today's 99's Travel Telford route, which is over in which is one of the circular routes under the Telford Travel Telford franchise. And so Travel Telford operates the 99, operated on behalf of Arriva, branded as Travel Telford. And so when the 9 was shortened to Wolverhampton to Bridgnorth only, it was not operated from Telford Depot, because Telford Depot was doing the 9 between with the 2 hourly journey between Wolverhampton and Telford, an hourly between Wolverhampton and Bridgnorth. But when it was shortened to Bridgnorth only, it was taken over by Shrewsbury Garage and was merged in with the 436 route. The 436 was operated by GHA and had been going back to Arriva time to time because of obviously due to reliability problems. But obviously Arriva Shrewsbury continued to operate the 436 with the 9 up until last year, 2023, and the 436 was taken over by Select Bus Services along with the 297 that goes to Kidderminster. And whilst the number 9, was taken over, was transferred back to Telford Depot. And when Shrewsbury was operating this route, it was worked by Optare vehicles, Optare Versas, because all of the vehicles you'll find at Shrewsbury are Optares, so that includes Optare Versas, Solos and Solo SRs. And of course, during the winter of 2019 into early 2020, they used the Enviro 200 MMCs, which were transferred then over to the East Midlands Airport. And when Telford did this route originally, they used the VDL SP200 Paxton Centros, also street lights, and even the pulsars. And when Telford's had it back, it's been operated by pulsars and Versas. But obviously the Versas, a few of them have been transferred back to Shrewsbury, so the 9's back to be using pulsars again, and that's really interesting, to be honest. So here we go, we are now heading away from the centre of Wolverhampton, and we're on our way towards Bridgnorth. So the only 800 series of routes that you see throughout the day left here in Wolverhampton is the 891, which is the Vanguard bus service to Telford, and the series left in Wolverhampton. So we are now on our way. So we're actually following alongside the 10 and 10A, which go to Burton, with the 10A continuing up to the village of Paddington. And there was, of course, the 10B that went to Compton, but obviously that stopped operating last year due to low passenger use. But the 10 and 10A continue to operate. Now, Arriva used to operate the 10, 10A and 10B, and the 10 used, and also back to the day when it was the 510, and that was operating from Wensfield, but in 2017, Wensfield Garage for Arriva had closed down, with the operations being passed over to Cannock, and also over to Diamond Bus, and some to other operators. But however, the 10 was not transferred to Cannock straight away. It was taken over by Telford Garage, and was extended to Telford to replace the 892. And first it went direct to Shipley, and then was rerouted via Brighton to provide a more frequent journey between Wolverhampton and Telford. But obviously the patronage on the 892 on the 10 to Telford just started to become very unsuccessful, as because of the 891 service, which provided like the other part of the route was paying a lot of money, or for whatever the reason, and then the 10 was just shortened to Burton only, and it was taken over by Cannock with the interworking of the 70 to Cannock, and the section between and then the Telford section from the 10 was replaced by the extended 14 route. Instead of going to Open Gates, it was rerouted out of Brisley towards Shipley to replace that section of the route, but there was no link towards Burton from Telford anymore. So that means changing buses in Wolverhampton city centre, or alternatively they could change at Compton, jump on this one to Bridgnorth, and then or get off at Warfield and go on the 114. And as well as that, route, there's been other. So anyway, there's a 10A going past now. As you know, the 10 and 10A are now operated by an X. The council did do the 10A and 10B for a short stint, because obviously Arriva dropped the 10A and 10B, and then they finally dropped the 10 in 2019 because NX took over the full running of the timetable. And then Arriva Cannock then finished completely in 2021 and was taken over by D&G Chase Rider buses. And most of the routes were then passed on to Select Bus services because they weren't part of the sale, and Chase Rider just started to create some additional routes. Anyway, they're Sainsbury's local over at Compton. So anyway, that was it for me, giving you all this information regards to this route, the number 9. So just going straight up that hill is the 62s, the Compton, which I filmed back in the spring, despite the weather being miserable. But obviously it's not that bad this time. And so here we go, we're going to be on our way towards Bridgnorth. So what I just want you now to do is to sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey all the way over to Bridgnorth. So here we go, guys. Staffordshire. Well, we'll be in Staffordshire for a short stint, and then we'll head into Shropshire. It's because Bridgnorth is in the Shropshire boundary, and when you're in Bridgnorth, you've got connections onto Worcestershire, which is Kidderminster, and then you've got connections up to Shrewsbury on the 436, run from Select, run by Select Travel, Select Bus Services, and of course, as well as that, you've got Select Bus Services on the 436, and of course you've got Select on the 297, and as well as Select on the 297 you've got and then of course you've got the other routes operated by Arriva. So you've got this one, the number 9, Wolverhampton to Bridgnorth, and this one was going to be thinking of coming off time to time, but obviously this route has continued to be a success, and I believe it or not, that this will always be an Arriva route. Well, we'll just have to see what happens, but obviously with Arriva doing this route, it's amazing with the pulsars on the route. Wonderful. So there's the Mermaid Pub. So as well as Arriva's 9, you've got the 8s that goes towards Telford via the Iron Bridge Gorge, and as well as that you've got the 113 and 114 that goes via the little villages, and then of course you've got the local service in Bridgnorth, the 101, and that was operated by Central Buses, GHA, and also Whittles and Easy Coach, which is a bit more like EasyJet, which is the airline that operates to places within Europe, and they don't do any routes across the Atlantic because obviously the aircrafts they use, they don't have larger aircrafts to fulfill it. Obviously Jet2 do have an A330, but obviously they don't use that for the in-flight entertainment system, and the A330 is on loan from Airtech. I'm not sure if it's still on the fleet, I'm not sure. Is now leaving us. So we're now in Staffordshire, and turning right goes towards Pattingham. Yeah, so Pattingham and 2 miles to Burton's up there. So obviously on this side of the route, well, on the opposite side you'll see. If you're sitting on the opposite side, you'd see the Garden Village complex, which consists of 2 garden centres, the pavilion, and also Doolittle's, and of course there's a little bit of shops like Sweets. So we're now going through Trescott. cameras on this side of the bus. So here we go. So Garden Village is just out passing us. So you've got the Doolittles, got a bit of a small shopping village, and then of course you've got the Pavilion Garden Centre. Obviously the garden centres are now preparing for Christmas, because Christmas is only 2 months away now. So all the Christmas departments are starting to open up, so people can have a look. Even though I like the Christmas products in the garden centres. The next garden centre coming up is Leland's. This is Leland's. Quite a few shoppers here. We're looking at the back, so I wouldn't at this time because obviously it's starting to get cold. But at least I'm trying to look at the best offer also. Anyway, coming up next is the Fox at Shipley, which is a 2-for-1 pub. Hurrah, hurrah. The Fox at Shipley, 2-for-1, hurrah, hurrah. Just on the Bridgnorth Road. So we're now on the Bridgnorth Road, and coming up now is the Bridgnorth Garden Centre, which is actually referred to as Garden Land. So Garden Land is coming up now, so we're now coming up towards Garden Land. So here comes Garden Land. So this is Garden Land. So we're now arriving at Garden Land. So this is Garden Land right here. Here's Garden Land. Well, Bridgnorth Garden Centre, there's Garden Land. Here's the sign for this Garden Land, just right there. Really nice Garden Land. To be honest, I really like a bit of Garden Land myself. I like Garden Land. And also I like Cherry Lane, Barney's Hill. So we're now entering Shropshire. So we've just left Staffordshire now. So we're now into Shropshire. For the last leg of the journey, for the remaining leg of the journey. So here we go. Telford possibly before Christmas, and of course we've got the Christmas market on, and probably do a vlog if I go to one. Obviously I used to go to the German market a lot, never did a vlog back then, much of a vlog back then because the YouTube didn't exist, but I think of doing something. But the weather today, it's quite bright, obviously the clocks go back real soon, so we're going to start having cold weather on the horizon, but we'll do our best to keep the YouTube channel thriving up until the end of 2024, and it's been a fantastic time. We've had a bit of a break in September because we went over to Orlando in Florida. So Wolverhampton's now 8 miles away and 6 miles to our destination, Bridgnorth. And so the time is now 11:23, midday. So we're now at the junction for the Rabbit Run. So here's the Rabbit Run pub. Coffee and cake on the Rabbit Run. So there's the pub on the Rabbit Run, the Rabbit on the Rabbit Run. Obviously, people might want to have a think, what is the Rabbit Run? Are there any rabbits on the run? Well, I just don't know really, but comment below if you know anything about the Rabbit Run. So here we go. We're now on our way towards we're just now coming down the slope around this sliding, winding bit of road. Well, not as winding certain roads I've experienced. And so the bus is the bus is now reducing a bit of speed, because obviously you've got to reduce speed a bit down here. When we now, Warfield is coming up next, and that is where we will meet the 114, which is the Telford to Bridgnorth via Shipley and Compton. And the 114 series routes is actually split into different sister routes. So you've got the 114, Telford to Bridgnorth via Shipley and Compton. Then of course you've got the 113, Telford to Bridgnorth via Shipley and Sutton Maddock. And then on Saturdays there is the 115 and 116. The 116 is Western Heath to Bridgnorth via Shipley and Compton. And the 116 is Shipley to Bridgnorth, is Western Heath to Bridgnorth via Shipley and Compton, whilst the 115 is Western Heath to Bridgnorth via Sutton Maddock. And they are subsidised on behalf of Shropshire Council. And speaking of the 114, we got one right in front of us, just laying over. So we're now going to lay over for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be on the road shortly. Anyway, we're now on our way again, just after a layover, just after the wheeling. And so our destination, Bridgnorth, is not that far now. So we're making good record time. So Warfield, Wyken or Wyken. So the 114 route, that is now on way to Bridgnorth, and that will then go back as a 114 towards Telford before we'll do the 113 back to Bridgnorth. So that departs Telford at 1 o'clock 1300, and that takes half an hour to get to Bridgnorth, because the 113 is a lot quicker than the 114 to Bridgnorth. That takes half an hour, whilst the 114 takes an hour to get there, and that was like a 2-hour round trip. funicular railway, which is the cliff train that takes you up and downwards. It's the only inland funicular railway I've experienced. And so there's M&S Food Hall right there, here in Bridgnorth, and it certainly has been a pleasure that we've enjoyed the service all the way from Wolverhampton. So the time's now 11:43. And the river is the River Severn. Obviously, it's one of the biggest rivers here, River Severn. guys, we are now doing the section up to Sydney Cottage on the number 9. So as you know, I've actually divided the 9 into different versions. So one video is including the 9 just to Bridgnorth, and then the second one is the one towards Sydney Cottage. And anyway, it's a Volvo V7 R11, right to click to the body, V7, that's boss number 8, that's come on the 436 from Shrewsbury, and that is going to be flying over for 2 hours I think, and then that will go back to Shrewsbury as the 436. So as you know, we're now going round on the number 9. Obviously Arriva still provide a service around this part of the route. They still provide a service around this section of the route. Well, yeah, Arriva still provide a service around this section of the route, following the withdrawal of the 436 back in last year, from when it was classed with Arriva to Select. That